History isn't just something we read, it's something we preserve, protect, and learn from. We discuss why this matters behind the collections at the African American Heritage Museum of Southern New Jersey. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.
Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. Joining me today is a respected voice in American history whose work reminds us that understanding our past shapes a stronger future. I'm talking no other than Ralph Hunter, the founder of the African American Heritage Museum of Southern New Jersey. Ralph, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me, Bert. This is really a great opportunity. I've never been on your show before, but I've heard so many great things about you and your program.
Well, listen, I know that we just had a great exhibit featuring some of the stereotypes that existed back in the 30s and 50s, some of it featuring Atlantic City Electric way back in the 30s and 50s. But I was so impressed by everything you have in the museum. Tell me more about how you started this. What was your dream behind starting a museum?
Well, the whole thing happened when I was in, kindergarten. And the teacher in kindergarten used to read a story. I was only one of four African Americans in my kindergarten class. So when she would read this story all the time, the story was called Little Black Sambo. And when she read the story, I used to put my hands over my ears and never listen to it, because at graham cracker time, I became their little black Sambo. Being only one of four black kids in the class, it was really took an opportunity to change my thinking about how I would envision the rest of my life. So many years later, I was in a position to sell one of my companies, and I started to really seriously collect African American memorabilia. I guess it was about 40 years ago. I had gone to North Carolina, and I took a 5-year sabbatical. And I said, I'm going to go down and try to load up a warehouse full of African American memorabilia. So that's what I did. I took the 5 years, and my first stop was in North Carolina. When I got to North Carolina, I went to an antique shop, and I asked the clerk, did she have anything that was black or African American? And she said to me, she had one item that was in the back room. Her boss didn't want her to put it out because he didn't want to offend any of the customers. I says, Miss, whatever's in the back room, I'll buy. So she goes in the back room, and she comes out with a book. The book was written by a lady by the name of Helen Matterman. She wrote this story while traveling on a train through India. And the name of the book was Little Black Sambo. Now I'm regressing again, telling her that I would buy anything. So get this book, and I'm saying to myself, I don't know if anyone on your program has ever heard the story of Little Black Sambo, but I can tell it real quick. This little black boy's mother makes him a new jacket, new pair of pants, and a new pair of slippers. And he asks his mother, can he go out into the jungle and play? And she said, be very careful, it's dangerous out there. So as soon as he gets into the jungle, a tiger comes up to him and roars at him and said, if you don't give me that beautiful jacket, I'm going to eat you. What are you going to do with the jacket? Says, I'm going to put it on my hind legs. When I walk through the jungle, I'll be the most handsome tiger in the jungle. Another tiger comes up, roars at him once again. So if you get those beautiful trousers, what are you going to do? Put on my front two legs. When I walk through the jungle, I too will be the most handsome tiger in the jungle. Another tiger comes up, roars at him again, says, if you don't give me those beautiful slippers, we're going to do the slippers. Put them on my ears when I walk through the jungle. I too will be the most handsome tiger in the jungle. Now, little black Sambo standing behind a tree with just his undergarments on, and he didn't know what to do. And the fourth tiger comes out, roars at him again, and says, if you don't give me the umbrella that you have, I'm going to eat you up. What are you going to do with the umbrella? Put it on my tail. When I walk through the jungle, I too will be the most handsome tiger in the jungle. So that's the story of the little black Sambo. So after that happens, the tigers chase each other around a tree and they melt and turn into a mound of butter. He gathers his clothing, takes it back home and tells his mother what a terrible day he had in the jungle. So, and then along comes through the jungle is his father. He has his urn on top of his head. He sees the mound of butter that the tigers had melted and turned into, gathers it together, brings it home, and asks little black Sambo what was his day like. He said he had a terrible day in the jungle. The tigers took his clothes and everything. So he said, what would you like to eat? He said, I'd like to eat 100 pancakes. So little black Sambo eats 100 pancakes. His father eats like 87, and his mother eats like 31. But the moral of the story is how the museum got started. It got started from that very first book about little black Sambo. And we were able to build an inventory today of more than 33,000 pieces. Wow. Stereotypes is just a portion of the museum. At the museum, we do interesting things for up-and-coming artists. We've had over 320 artists come through there who've never had opportunity to showcase in the museum.
Now, you have a connection
Yes.
with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, one day, we don't know she's there, but the lady sneaks into the museum. So within 24 hours, people are calling me up and said, you're on The View. The museum's on The View. Whoopi Goldberg's talking about the African American Museum at Stockton Arts Garage. I said, no, you're kidding. It was actually true. So she put us on the map. So it was really, really fantastic. She talked about you don't have to travel to Washington, D.C. You can come to Atlantic City. Atlantic City is on the move, it's up, and good things are happening. So she wanted more people to come and visit us in Atlantic City and visit all the arts and all the things that we have in our
She
system.
also provided a gift to the museum as well.
Yeah, she decided there was a painting scheduled to go to the Smithsonian in Washington. It's called photorealism. It looks like a real photograph of a person, but it's actually done with a number 2 brush, almost the size of 2 of the hairs on your head. And the artist is Ogal Ozeri, who painted the piece. He has a studio in Jersey City. It's the largest studio on the East Coast. There are 300 artists and international collectors there. It's called Manor Contemporary. So I was invited to go up to the studio to see the piece, and I saw this masterpiece on the wall of Whoopi Goldberg. She's looking at me and I'm looking at her. And so the artist says, Whoopi Goldberg has decided not to send this piece to the Smithsonian, but to donate it to the African American Museum in Atlantic City.
So let me ask you,
Yeah.
because obviously you spend a great deal of time collecting all these items, and it's really portrays the history in terms of the stereotypical view that Americans had at that time of African Americans. Why do you think it's so important to preserve that history?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like Aunt Jemima. Let's just start with that one there. Aunt Jemima was a stereotype. Their first Aunt Jemima was, of course, a white person in blackface. They eventually hired a lady by the name of Nancy Green to become Aunt Jemima. They made her look like a cartoon or a pickaninny style, but that sold product. And other companies, Aunt Jemima was not the only company who did that. Cream of Wheat did it in another way. Cream of Wheat had a guy named Rastus, and Rastus was the face of Cream of Wheat. And he was a waiter in a restaurant in Chicago, and a photographer comes in and takes a photo of him. And now the photographer owns the photo. He sells it to Cream of Wheat, and now Cream of Wheat got $5 for that photograph, only once in his lifetime. That became a stereotype. There was a restaurant in Atlantic City on the boardwalk. The restaurant was called Mammy's Restaurant. And at Mammy's restaurant, they served pancakes and lunch and dinner. But the women who worked there that were African American had to wear Aunt Jemima outfits from the north side of town all the way to the boardwalk. And I was fascinated with that because as a youngster, my neighbor, named Robert Lamb, his mother worked at that restaurant. And she had to wear that costume from the north side all the way to the boardwalk twice a day. And they had to work split shift in those days, so she had to do it back and forth. So those are the kind of things. We have things in the museum about Amos and Andy. We have Banks.
And we do want to talk a little bit more about some of the other collection, and particularly the collection that you just started that's going to be on display for 3 months, featuring some of the advertisement back in the day in the 1930s and 50s with Atlantic City Electric. We just need to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more
Okay.
Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion as we continue our discussion with Ralph Hunter, the founder of the African American Heritage Museum of South Jersey. Ralph, we just had a nice discussion talking about your vision for the museum and what inspired you to make that vision a reality. You're now located in Newtonville, which is what you originally started, and you're at the Arts Garage in Atlantic City. 16 years now in the Arts, 13 years in the Arts Garage, and you have vision to even expand beyond that.
We have about 33,000 artifacts in our warehouse, and we'd love to showcase more of them. Right now, if you come to the museum, you'll see less than 1% of our extra archives. So we're working with a group over at Boardwalk Hall to perhaps at least about 40,000 square feet there at Boardwalk Hall. And to move the museum's archives and assets over there so more and more people who visit Atlantic City, who come from Australia, they come from China, they come from all over the world, and they want to know about the history of New Jersey, and in particular, the history of Atlantic City. So it's been my pleasure to work for so many years on collecting memorabilia, history, from scrapbooks, from photographs, to everything we can find from the beginning, some 162 years ago.
So Ralph, not to cut you off, but I just want to talk about one exhibit that you have ongoing now, and you will be having ongoing for the next 3 months, and that is the one featuring Atlantic City Electric and a portrayal, a caricature that they use back in the 30s and the 30s and early 50s of Elec. Tell me about that collection.
Well, we were able to gather together some old newspaper clippings from back in the 20s and 30s when Atlantic City Electric used a caricature of a little black man for their advertising. Now, when I saw it, I was familiar with it because I had done research on it many years ago. But when this antique dealer called me up and said he had it, would I come down to see it and take a look at it? I said yes. So I get down and I look at it, and it's fantastic. You know, everything has a beginning, a middle, and no end. And the beginning, the way things were advertised between Cream of Wheat, Little Black Sambo, Mammy's Restaurant, Gold Dust Twins, they used African Americans in a very negative way, people of color. It made me personally feel bad about Little Black Sambo, but so be it. So my point is that now that Atlantic City Electric has embraced what happened in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and came to us and said, Ralph, let's take a look at both sides of this coin. Let's see what happened in the 20s and the 30s, and let me show you what's happening right now. And when Bert Lopez, I met up with him, he came to look at what we're going to put in the exhibit, said to me, well, let me send this up to my folks up top and see what they say about it. He came back to me within 48 hours and said, yes, we're going to work with you, we're going to embrace what happens, because now I was unfamiliar with who the heads of the Atlantic City Electric Company were. But they're people who look like me. The president of the company looks like me. The CEO looks like my cousin. And just wonderful, wonderful achievements that's happened. It started here in a negative position, but it has grown, grown, grown. I know people who worked at the Atlantic City Electric for 40, 50 years ago, did not know of this character. It's really, really amazing. But it's amazing how the company has grown. And I, for one, not only as a historian, but as a human being, look at a company and say to them, job well done. They came and we had an opening at the museum for the employees, and they spoke from their heart. It was just incredible. You know, when we first started this, I just didn't know where it would go.
And let me tell you,
I'm delighted.
It's certainly a pleasure to collaborate because, like you indicated, I mean, this was the 1930s, and this is how advertisement was being done back in the day. What's amazing about the exhibit is not only seeing the stereotype that was taking place back in the 30s, in the 1950s, even with Atlanta City Electric, following the same formula they used for marketing back in the day, how far we have come from that time. And certainly seeing that we have Calvin Butler, who is one of the few African Americans who is CEO of a Fortune 500. He is Exelon's CEO. Atlanta City Electric is part of the Exelon family. We have Rodney Odoy, who is the Chief Operating Officer of PHI, which is also the parent company of Atlanta City Electric. And he preceded Tamala Olivier, who is now the president of BG&E. And there's a couple other leaders like Ken Parker, who was the president of Atlanta City Electric. And actually, there's a book that he wrote in the exhibit, and I had the pleasure of working with Ken for many years. So it's great to see what has happened. And I think what we're seeing is that learning from the past, right? And striving to be that type of company that embraces everyone. And that's one of the reasons I'm proud to work there as well. But great job in terms of the exhibit. And I want to ask you, in terms of that particular exhibit, how long is it going to be open for?
Well, the exhibit's going to be up February, March, and April. It'll come down the end of April. And it will probably be transferred over to our other location in Newtonville. Newtonville location's been there for 24 years. So we move exhibits from one museum to the other. But it's going to be part of the museum's permanent collection. It's so very, very important to have stereotypes. The exhibits are really, really wonderful. But the beautiful part about this exhibit for me, our slogan, the logo at the museum is learn from the past, live in the present, and look to the future. Now, Atlantic City Electric learn from the past, living in the present, we're looking to the future with a beautiful arrangement so that we can grow together and be equal partners through this process. I think the showing of this exhibit, it's going to open the eyes and the minds of people from all different walks of life to see a company that evolved the way that your company has. You got to be a proud buddy to have worked for them for some 42 years. To see the evolution of the company, it's amazing.
It
really,
is
really
amazing.
amazing. And we're delighted at the museum to have the exhibit. The exhibit's it's one of the most important exhibits we've ever had. I've been doing exhibits now for 24 years, and putting this together brought so much joy to my soul when you called me up and said, I want to bring some people in and show you how the company has grown. I was flabbergasted.
We're going to need to take a quick break, and we will show part of that opening ceremony that we had for that exhibit. And we want to talk a little bit more about what this means to you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
I want to personally thank you for being part of this and thanking Atlanta City Electric for lending us a hand to make this exhibit come true. People will see it from all different walks of life, and we're delighted to be part of that. But Bert and I hit it off right away. I didn't know him from a can of string beans. but now we know one another, and we're contemporaries. So that's very, very important. So the company went from a stereotype. It moved along. So one day you have a CEO and a chief of staff, all who look like me, which is amazing to me. Not only that, I brought Bert up, so the company put together kind of like a little resolution. Hit it, Bert. Go ahead.
Well, before we go there, Ralph, if you could just stand for a second. I know you just sat down. Take a look at, turn around, Ralph, turn around. Take a look at Ralph. Now, Ralph is
West Philly.
he is very well known. He's got a lot of accolades, and he's been really the father of Black history in Atlantic City. And we have a lot of contributors to that, including the judge here as well, who's written about the African American experience. And Ralph, when Ralph came to me and showed me what he had by way of the collection, it's something that you don't want to run away from. It's something that you want to face honestly, and it's part of the sheer African American experience. And I know that Atlanta City Electric was contributed to the stereotypes that you see on the wall. We were just like every other major company at the time, but we did come up with a statement, and Ralph wants me to read it. So, Jessica, I know that I did have this approved by Corp Comms, let me just read what the statement here, that this is transforming the African American experience, and this exhibit includes advertising materials from Atlanta City Electric, created during the 1920s to the 1950s. Some of these images rely on racial caricatures and stereotypes of African Americans that were widely used in American advertisement at the time. While these materials are part of our shared history, they reflect attitudes and practices that cause harm and do not align with the values we hold today. We recognize that these portrayals will be painful to see. Acknowledging them openly is an important step in understanding how deeply such stereotypes were embedded in everyday life and how far we still must go to ensure equity and respect for all. Over time, Atlanta City Electric and the parent company, Exelon, have worked to learn from the past and move forward with intention, creating a workplace where people of all backgrounds can thrive and obtain position at the highest levels of the company. This exhibit is not presented to excuse or to erase history, but it is to face it honestly. We still hope it invites reflection, dialogue, and a renewed commitment to building a future shaped by dignity, inclusion, and mutual respect. So this is what I want you to take away from. We're facing our past and our history, and it's good to talk about it, and it's good to really see how far we've come. And I happen to be, in this September, it's going to be 48 years that I've been an employee of Atlanta City. I lived some of that past here as a first Latino in many roles in the company, and I have seen how far we have come. I mean, it's just chilling and thrilling to see the leadership that we have that happen to be people of color who are shaping the future for our company. Thank you very much. So Ralph, that was an amazing clip, and certainly we were thrilled to be at the museum with Atlanta City Electric employees and also members of the ERG Employee Resource Group, the African American Resource Alliance that participated in that reception that you hosted. Listen, I want to know more about what you get out of this in terms, I mean, you started this and you chose stereotypes as the main theme for the museum. Tell me what this means to you.
Well, when you see a a father and a son walk into the museum, or a mother and a daughter, or a whole entire family, they have an opportunity to look back at history. And if you don't know what happened in the past, you're doomed to repeat it. So we never want to see stereotypes such as they appear today. We have hundreds and hundreds of them, but they're important to me personally because I get absolute excited when I see it, because there's a story behind every piece. Every piece came from a different town, a different city, a different individual. So when you walk in and see stereotypes, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing. People call me in from all over the country. They heard about that we have this great exhibit about stereotypes. And how did we get it? How did we start it? We started because we collected that first book, A Little Black Sambo. And ever since then, people come to look to find about their history. Now,
I know you had some interns
Yeah.
involved,
Yeah.
and tell me a little bit about, what do you hope people get out of the museum, and particularly the youth, students?
Well, the students here at Stockton University, we had 4 interns who worked on this project. On Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, the professor came over to work at the museum, and their assignment was to assort these newspaper clippings out and start getting them typed up. Dr. Allison from Stockton brought her students over, and she said to me, this would be a great idea if the students worked on this and they became presenters and curators on this exhibit. And we said yes. So she chose 4 students, and they became paid students from Stockton University that worked on this exhibit, putting it together. They were really, really amazing. They were able to create the signage. They were able to get things that are not frames. They were able to write the press release. All the great things that I normally would have to do was done by students from Stockton University. And they're still working on the project. They're working on a brochure for the project now to get it up on the internet. The whole exhibit's going to be really, really seen throughout the whole United States of America.
So tell me a little bit of what's next in terms of, this is the City Electric exhibit on stereotypes, but what do you see is going to be your next big project?
Well, our next project, we have a photographer coming in from Philadelphia. His name is Ron. Ron did a great deal of work on black and white photography. So he's going to be in that studio where the Elect is now. And we rotate the studios around. So Elect will be either going to Newtonville or in another part of the museum. But we're constantly looking for more and more stereotypes to add to the collection. If we had a collection of 10,000, 20,000 pieces, it wouldn't be enough. They'll know 100 years from now the depository for all of these stereotypes are at the African American Museum in Atlantic City. So people from Europe can come. They can all come and see these great works of art. And it's art. It's really great art.
And I really appreciate your dedication to preserving history. It's very important that we learn from the past. Like you said, that don't repeat the past, but also it also portrays how far we've come and how far we need to go to make sure everybody's treated with equity and justice. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have.
Oh gosh, I have another half hour.
I thank you. I'd love to have you back for the next exhibit.
Okay.
But it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bert.
And thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.